we've stayed as core as we possibly can in terms of surfing.
Magic Shot was actually a name that Bruce brought back from Japan.
I just popped in here on the off chance. This is about the only time I ever get into a surf shop.
10 had been stolen.
Stolen?
Stolen.
She was big on security. So in the early shop days, what was sort of the clothing part of it like? What were you actually selling in the store? Was it just boards? And I mean, were there leashes? Were there what else? What else was there? You know?
What was there? Well, it's quite ironic. When we started, the name Lifestyle was because we wanted to have a lifestyle. So we opened up, and there were like shelves with pot plants and a couple of leather sandals and leather belts, a couple of surfboards, and it was to depict the lifestyle that we had. So we were just kind of newly married, staying in a flat, and we looked around, and we probably had 2 old cane chairs like we're sitting on here, and not much else. So a lifestyle to us was that. When I look back at it now, and I think there weren't leashes in those days. The leash hadn't really come out yet. But it soon did come out, so it wasn't long after that. Hang 10 was the clothing brand, and so Trevor Esby would arrive here, and he was a Hang 10 rep, and we'd buy clothing from him.
Was that clothing made in Cape Town?
Made at Rex Trueform used to make the clothing, probably under license. Zero was the only wetsuit at the time, and only one model, one sort of design, and 5 sizes, so you only needed probably 10 wetsuits in stock. The first real sort of clothing, and I'll tell you why I remember this, was when Sharon got going with Country Feeling, and we bought 12 shirts from her, nice shirts, like cowboy shirts almost, and that was like an amazing thing. We bought 12. Mom was running the store at the time, and we were in all of these 12 shirts, and when I came back in the afternoon to look at them, there were only 2 shirts left. 10 had been stolen.
Stolen?
Stolen.
So she was big on security.
No, we trusted everybody.
Yeah.
But you just suddenly thought, hold on, we're in the real world here. You know, not everyone is after the same lifestyle as us.
Yeah.
And then we just realized that surfing is where we're going, you know. Pot plants out, leather belts out. There's a little market for it, but we transitioned into surfing. And as I said, leashes then started to come in. So we made our own leashes, we made our own wax. I had a brand called Lipstick. And we did a lot of things ourselves, and started to populate the store with our own product. Product wasn't available, there wasn't the oversupply of product or brands like this, so you actually had to be innovative. But it was nice. You could be creative, and you could be rewarded for that creativity.
You know, 50 years have gone by, and if I look at our strengths, it has always just been that we've stayed as core as we possibly can in terms of surfing. I mean, during the 80s, those sort of early 80s days when Muizenberg had just about fallen apart, like the buildings down the street here were just faces of buildings, and you could have pushed them over if you really wanted to, if you lent, if you'd lent against them. At that stage, like, how many people were actually surfing out here? On a good day at Muizenberg, now you see 500 people.
You've never battled to find parking, so maybe 30 people. So you never
the same sort of 30 people that were like core. I mean, nowadays we always go, geez, nobody works in this town. Yeah. Everyone's always surfing. I suppose those days nobody worked because they didn't want to. They just didn't have a job.
Surfing hadn't exploded like it had now. You know, it was the same 30 people. When you started to make surfboards, so if we just go back a little bit, when you started to make surfboards, to run a factory properly, you needed to do 15 boards a day. Well, I needed to do 15 boards a week, 3 a day. Otherwise, I couldn't employ anyone. I couldn't employ a sander, glasser, shaper, whatever. I actually used school kids to come and sand my boards and stuff like that. And some of those kids went on to be great entrepreneurs and After that, we opened up our own little factory and stuff like that. And to do 15 boards a week, I had to try and sell 15, and the market wasn't that good to sell 15 boards. The market was small, so you had to be a little bit innovative. But, you know, we were able to do that, able to get by. I could supply a couple of boards up to East London. I opened a store in PE and got a lot of the local PE good surfers on my boards and stuff like that. The Stellenbosch crew were very good to me, the Stellenbosch University crew. They became allies for me and enjoyed my boards and were riding my boards, and even to this day they come in and sort of look around, their sons come in and stuff like that.
You first started shaping boards 1970?
Probably in the...
6?
No, 71, 72.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the sort of Tich Paul label as such, that production where you had to sort of push it. I mean, you could say that, like yourself and maybe Spider Murphy, and who else was around at that stage that was doing like almost a production line type surfboard?
Mike Lamont, Robbie Ponting, Ken Freeland, Peter Daniels, they were kind of all together with the Faith label. And there were others, Graham Smith in Durban. Des Sawyer came onto the scene a little bit later, yeah. I'm not sure what his production was. Then there was Rose Street a little bit later on.
Rose Street in Cape Town.
In Cape Town, yeah. So there were.
So I mean, the nucleus of the surf industry was always sort of up in Durban.
Yeah.
For most of the time.
Yeah.
It's still, I mean, there's still most head offices and stuff are still in Durban or Joburg nowadays or wherever they are. But Cape Town definitely seems to have got hold of the real essence of surf again.
Let me just pick up there, because I said all those guys, but why Durban was more forward thinking than maybe Cape Town was at the time was that you had the Gunston 500, you had these events up there, so international surfers would go up there, you could glean from them, you could see their boards, they might even need a board, so Spider and those guys had opportunity to do them. You'd also have them wanting to go to Jeffreys Bay, but no one really wanted to come to Cape Town. The water was cold and people didn't come here. So you had to kind of get second-hand information, so to speak. One of the things I kind of realized quickly in those days that if I wanted to sustain in this industry, there wasn't an opportunity to sustain in this industry as a shaper, and it consume you, and the blanks were shocking, and there'd be dust. So I did my couple of thousand boards, etc. Myself and Bruce Jackson had an affiliation. He was a really good pro surfer at the time, and he was traveling the world, and he was a good production shaper. And to fill his time, he would work 2 stints for me a year. He'd go to Australia and work a stint for Luke Egan's dad over there, Sam Egan, and he'd go to Japan, where Japanese surfing was taking off, and a couple of other things. So with that in mind, I had a fantastic influence on world surfing, because he was doing the traveling, and he was an amazing, he's the best production shaper I've ever seen, because he was quick, accurate. You know, to this day he's a great friend of mine, and I owe a lot to him. We were good for one another. And I was good for him, he was good for me. And so if you look at today's surfing with CNC machines and stuff like that, he was my CNC machine in those days. He would come and I'd think, well, I don't want to spend my whole time in the shaping bay. There's little models we're bringing out and stuff like that. So he would leave here and I'd have 100 shaped blanks, which would suffice for the next 6 to 8, 10 weeks, you know. And keep my production going. So it was an investment, and I don't know where I've ever got the money from. I don't know how I used that skill. I can't even think, you know. But those were factors. So I owe allegiance to other people as well. Sort of in the growth of the business, I kind of owe allegiance to, like Gary Van Roy, and him and I had a partnership in an informal way in the business. Gary was good on forms of marketing, and we started a little screen printing thing together. And so we could print our own stickers and our own T-shirts, and we could flood the market with those type of things that also gave incredible credibility to what we were about and exposure to what we were about. And it wasn't a market that we could be original in that market. And so we used all those assets to our advantage. Also, he was a good surfer, Bruce was a good surfer, I wasn't a bad surfer. And so you form credibility around yourself as well. When windsurfing came in and stuff like that, I transitioned the name of Tich Paul surfboards into, well, first of all, just because I got involved in windsurfing into quite a high level, I used my name brand there, and I just realized, is it a windsurf or is it a surfboard? So we carried on like making Tich Paul surfboards and introduced the name Magic Shot. Magic Shot was actually a name that Bruce brought back from Japan when he was shaping there, and it just lay dormant in the back of my mind. And then I said to him, can we use that name? He said, yeah, no one will know. So we used the name Magic Shot, and that's where Magic Shot came onto the scenes, and that was probably about 1983, 82, 83.
So, I mean, you still see the Magic Shot mini-mulls,
still
longboards.
See the Magic Shot.
Yeah.
For me, it was a big relief, and it's different today, but I didn't want to carry the brand. I didn't want my name to carry the brand. I didn't want the onus to be on me. Nowadays, you'd see like a brand as like, say, a Tich Paul brand as a brand. In those days, you'd see Tich Paul as an individual. So I felt, well, if I'm getting old, the brand's just going to get old and stagnate. So it was a good thing to introduce Magic Shot.
Well, I mean, you see that with modern surfboard brands now, with the Almerics of the world and stuff, that you can't keep it up.
Yeah.
And so it's Channel Islands, and under Channel Islands there's a number of shapers and and licensees and whatever.
So those were things that I actually think back, and I realized a lot of these things, for myself anyway, early on, and was able to adapt.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, tell him to come say how's it. Bruce. Yeah. How's it?
Come here.
You got an honourable mention in the...
We're just doing a 50-year celebration type thing.
Geez, are you there?
Well, I'm a bit older, but
not me.
But I've just given you a big punch here, so maybe we'll need you.
I just popped in here on the off chance, and
okay.
Any time I ever get into a surf shop.
Okay.
You guys carry on.
Let's just
cool.
finish and then
I'm
we.
just looking around.
Okay.
All right.